Hello and welcome back to Proactive New York. Joining me today from Power REIT is David Lesser. Alongside him is Jared Schrader. Jared is actually at one of the cannabis cultivation sites right now, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I'm going to kick off the conversation today with you, David. Power REIT has acquired this cannabis greenhouse facility in Veneta, Oklahoma. This was earlier in June of this year. So can you update us on how things are going over there?
Certainly. We are really excited about this acquisition. We feel we made a distressed acquisition of a property that at the time was operating, but it was undercapitalized, and frankly, the operators really didn't understand how to grow cannabis in a greenhouse. And so we saw an opportunity and moved very quickly to capitalize on it. We believe, as we've discussed previously, we believe that greenhouse cultivation is really the sustainable approach. It will lead to lower cost, lower carbon footprint, and we really think that is the ultimate sort of direction of this industry and where it has to head. Frankly, we feel like as a REIT, we're becoming somewhat of a technology play and a knowledge play, really understanding this greenhouse cultivation concept and really digging into that as part of our investment thesis. So we acquired this property for about $2.1 million and agreed to fund $550,000 of upgrades and improvements to the property as part of the acquisition. And then the lease is structured similar to the other transactions that we've discussed many times, whereby Power REIT receives a full return of its capital over a 36-month period. So it really de-risks our investment. And after that, we receive a long-term ongoing rental stream. So as such, we really see very attractive rates of returns on an unleveraged basis from these acquisitions. So we're quite excited about what we have here.
And with this acquisition, you also now have a tenant. So what can you tell us about that tenant?
Sure. So our tenant for this acquisition is actually a joint venture between the management team, represented by Jared here on this video conference, and a company called Millennium Investment and Acquisition Company, which is actually another small cap public company that I run. The ticker of that company is MILC. And what will happen, it's kind of a private equity model. Millennium will provide the capital. Our Millennium's investment will capitalize that entity and then own that entity in partnership with Jared and the management team. So we're really excited about that structure. We think it's really creates some interesting alignment. And I have a lot of confidence in Jared and the team he has quickly assembled here. And I'll let him really talk about the operations and kind of what we're doing there, because I think from Power REIT's standpoint, it's great to know that tenant is really hitting the ground running here and has developed a team and therefore will be able to pay Power REIT its rent and have a long-term relationship as such.
Yeah, Jared, give us a bit of background here. How did this opportunity kind of come available to Power REIT?
Absolutely. So this deal came to us through our network that we source deals through. It was a distressed asset. So we were able to acquire it if we could move very quickly, which is one of the strategic advantages of Power REIT is our nimbleness. So we moved on this opportunity. It was an operator that predominantly grows out of Oklahoma City. So that was far away from their basis, and they're used to growing indoors. And so greenhouse cultivation for a lot of the cannabis operators is kind of a foreign concept to them. And one of the main theses of Power REIT is growing in a greenhouse because of the lower cost of acquisition, lower cost of build out. You don't have to have as much HVAC, lighting. And so what other growers that predominantly come from the cannabis industry see as a hamstring, we see as an opportunity here at Power REIT with controlled environment agriculture. So we're trying to take large scale commercial agriculture approach to the cannabis industry. This not only helps from reducing the acquisition price, but also from an ongoing operations. There's not as much need for electrical with lower light demand and lower HVAC because we're using the sun for our lighting and wet walls. So that really creates a unique opportunity for us.
Could you tell us a bit more about the characteristics about the facility, maybe its size?
Yeah, so there's 3 tracks here, a total of 9.3 acres. On there is a predominant greenhouse, which I'm actually in right now, which is about 40,000 square feet. This greenhouse had 2 of its bays that were not operational. So we've actually stood those back up, which increased the flowering size by 300%. Across the street from me here is a 100,000 square foot outdoor, which the prior tenant had been utilizing, which allowed us for very quick speed to revenue. So we're actually using a combination of auto flowers and full-term plants outdoor. And with the infrastructure that was already in place, we were able to step right in and continue growing. And then on the other side of the street, there was actually a previous tenant was using for retail for like poinsettias that they were growing. And we are turning that into a state-of-the-art propagation center. And building that out. And there's actually a 2,000 square foot greenhouse located on that facility. So we're able to use that for early nursery. So the team has been hard at work. We're deploying about 500,000 in capital improvements to the site. And a majority of those have already been completed here in the first 8 weeks of acquisition.
Jared, just staying with you for a second, let's talk a bit more about why Oklahoma. We are seeing a lot of multi-state operators who might not be participating in the state because it is an unlimited license state, and some might say has Wild West characteristics. So why are you optimistic about this particular opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this state is an open licensing state. So it's very easy for the tenant to come into the state. Millennium Cannabis was able to come in very quickly. And what's nice about that is it has low cost of entry. It's only $2,500 state fee. There's no local or state excise taxes. So it makes it very lucrative for the tenant and therefore a higher protection for Power REIT. So most multi-state operators prefer limited licensing state because it creates an artificial barrier to entry. But with our thesis of low cost production, we really prefer open licensing states because we can hit the ground running very quickly, get speed to revenue, and we're a low cost provider. So we're not looking for those same protections. And for Oklahoma, it actually is a top 10 cannabis market with the highest per capita medical card holders in the country. So it consumes a lot of cannabis here in the state, and we're very excited to be here.
And as I mentioned, the property was acquired in June, around 2 months ago. We have seen improvements being made quickly at the site. So can you give us some highlights on progress that's being made there?
Absolutely. Yeah. Our construction and management team has been very busy. As I mentioned, we're deploying about 500,000 in improvements. 3 main areas of focus, the outdoor, which as I mentioned, was previously operated. So we were able to step right into that and get growing out there immediately. And then the large greenhouse, we're standing up 2 more of those bays that were previously unoperable. And we've stood those up online. And then the small greenhouse across the street that we're building a state-of-the-art propagation center in. So we've been able to step in very rapidly because the site was previously being operated. So standing up operations here has gone very quickly, and we've been able to move very fast. And what's nice about that is we were able to use the existing management team that was here. And we've able to add about 15 employees already. So we have about a total headcount of about 35 employees. And a few of our staff from our sister grow in Southern Colorado, both on the Power REIT and Millennium side. Some of that management team has actually moved here to Oklahoma. So we've been able to utilize existing infrastructure, existing team to step right in and have, very quick speed to revenue. And we're really excited about being here in Oklahoma.
So as you are progressing here with kind of growth and developments, can you offer any kind of visibility into future revenues?
Yeah, so we'll be hitting revenue this quarter, which is very exciting. We'll have more meaningful revenue in the fourth quarter of this year, and then really hit our full potential in 2022. Millennium has published guidelines on a full 2022 year projection, both revenue and profit. Not only for this Oklahoma project, but for our sister farm in Southern Colorado in Walsenburg. So we're projecting this year to do about 8.9 million in 2022, which is a 7.5 times coverage for Power REIT. So this is, that's at base assumptions. And, that gives Power REIT a lot of comfort that we have a viable tenant here. And, that revenue consists of we'll be putting 25,000 plants outdoor and about 6,500 plants indoor that we can harvest 4 times a year. So that $9.5 million in revenue in 2022 comes with a very high margin of about 48%. So we're really excited about the speed to revenue, how quickly we can scale, and utilizing low cost of entry to drive high margins.
Jared, thank you so much. David, I am going to leave it with you. You have capitalized tenants for now 2 of Power REIT's properties through Millennium Investment. So what are your thoughts on having these affiliated transactions?
Right. So we think that this potential structure that we may replicate is frankly very helpful to Power REIT because it gives us an additional path to growth. Prior to this, all of our transactions really were situations where a tenant or a prospective tenant or someone came to us saying, hey, I'd like to buy this property, or I want to do a sale leaseback on this property. And that's somewhat limiting. These two, this example, as well as the property that we acquired in Southern Colorado, were examples where we found a property that was in distress, so therefore we're able to make a better real estate acquisition, but they did not have an operator. And so now through the sort of affiliation with Millennium, we have the ability to bring operators to the table for those types of situations, make perhaps better real estate transactions. And we're really excited because we think it gives us that much more ability to scale.
Jared, David, really looking forward to following your progress here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.